Hi, this is Randy Randall of No Age and host of the podcast Hyphenate with Randy Randall. I want to welcome our newest sponsor of the show, DistroKid. DistroKid helps musicians get their music on all the major streaming platforms, and artists keep 100% of their royalties. Hyphenate listeners get 30% off at distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate. Again, that's distrokid.com/VIP/HYPHENATE. Go get your music streaming everywhere now. What's happening? This is Hyphenate halftime for Monday, June 20th. That's not true. Monday, June 10th.
June 10th.
I was 10 days ahead. Mr. Aaron Farley, how are you doing this fine day?
I'm doing
Monday,
good. I'm
the
doing
20th.
Good. Yeah, everything is good.
I mean the 10th.
Oh, wait, you just froze.
It's good?
Oh, there we go. Now we're back.
Sorry, you froze. Oh, no.
There we go. You froze as well. We were both frozen, but now we're good. We've warmed up.
Classic pod moments.
Yes. And no, everything is good. I went out and I played tennis this morning.
Ooh, look at you.
With
Andre Agassi?
Kurt, yes, my friend Andre. He likes to be called Andre.
Okay, yeah. Not Andrea?
Just in case.
Not
no,
Andre?
not Andrea. Yeah, it's just
Andre.
like Andrea.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just not, It's not Andrea. It's Andrea. With Curtis, Tracy, and Janik, we had some, and now I'm sore.
Oh,
and even
like
my eyes
exercise.
aren't working. I was just trying to look at the screen, and I'm like, it's like blurrier than normal.
Oh my God!
That's why I don't usually exercise. I don't want to hurt later.
Middle-aged male blindness is caused by exercise. Yeah. Everyone knows this.
I would call this late stage middle age. That's what I feel.
Yeah.
I'm feeling late stage middle age for sure.
Well, I guess past 45, then you're saying you're going to live till 90. So
yeah. So I'm late stage.
Yeah.
I mean, 90 is pushing it.
God damn. Yeah. Did middle age used to be 35? Was that a middle-aged?
I think so, because the average
midlife crisis?
Average was like 70. Average was like 75 or something like that, right? So
but is that what I guess, yeah. I mean, those were the shows 30-something. Like, that was the whole thing. Like, it was like you reached your 30s and now it's all downhill from here.
Life is over.
Yeah.
No
I feel like
fun.
that narrative's changed a little bit, I think. I think most people in their 30s now are like partying. They're just cruising, right?
Oh, yeah. And 40s.
Yeah.
I don't think it stops.
Well, I think the body hurt really starts to, I think the weight gain starts in your 30s, but it doesn't hurt yet. Yeah. And then 40s is the pain starts to come in. So that's what at least my personal experience. It was like, wait, first part of the 30s was my metabolism, kicking me in the nuts. Like, telling me to go fuck myself. Like, yeah, you can't eat anything anymore. It all turns into like a tire. And then, and then by the 40s, it's like, why does my hand hurt when I wake up? Why does everything hurt? I just slept. Oh. I slept for 8 hours, and now I wake up and everything's sore. Like that was the new thing in the 40s. I don't know what happens in 50s.
Yeah, wait till 49 because I'm like, why? But I thought you just stretched this out. I'm like, no, not anymore.
Nope.
That doesn't stretch out anymore.
Well, that's what changes. Yeah, that's what changes too. The doctors, you used to be, you go see a doctor and be like, you're young, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Everything was like, is this a thing? Like, nah, you'll be fine. And then at some point around that, into your 40s, it's like, I don't have to worry about this, right? Like, oh no. Now you have to start worrying. Yes, worry about all those things. Yeah. Like, but no, you always said don't worry about it. Well, now you're at the age where yes, we worry. We gotta go. Let's do a blood draw. We'll get some tests. We'll get you down to imaging. Let's see what it is.
Yeah,
so I liked it better when you were just like, nah, don't worry about it. Like, okay.
Yeah, and they pull that list off and the list up and they go, whew, okay. Let's see here. And you go, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm like, God, why am I so sore? And I'm like, I drove for an hour. That's why.
That heavy driving.
I drove
you gotta watch out.
I drove twice for an hour at a time yesterday, and that's why my hips hurt, and I can't stretch them out.
God
and then
damn.
I have like these my Achilles heel. There's something going, or my Achilles tendon, both of them. I wake up in the morning, and everything I look up, and it's like, no, it's your calf muscles are too tight. No. It's actually these bands underneath your foot. No. It's the band that goes It's the band that goes attaches your heel to your big toe. No. It's actually your
plantar
thighs.
fasciitis.
No, it's
God, no.
Yeah, and I'm like, no. None of you know anything. It's not.
No.
I don't know.
Well, you're looking online.
All these
you're looking.
fixes.
Yeah. It's like you're basically yelling into a stadium full of people. Like, hey, what's this thing on my elbow? Like, oh, okay, hold on. You're gonna get everybody's answer. Yeah. Speaking of elbows, I did get a shot. I got a shot in my elbow. Yeah, did I tell you about this already?
Just recently?
Yeah. It was great.
You told me about the one in your hand.
Oh yeah, the hand shots. Yeah. Now the elbow, it's worked its way up into the elbow. But it feels a lot better. I got to say, man, I've lived with elbow pain and like that forearm kind of tightness. You know what I mean? Where my forearm was just like in pain, sore all the time for years. Like over 10 years, I've lived with this, and I had no idea. I told the guy, he's like, "Oh yeah, it's like an extreme form of tennis elbow, basically." And he gave me a cortisone shot. He said usually one shot works. So we'll see. But now the other elbow hurts. Like once you fix one, you're like,
ripping on the guitar so much.
Apparently, yeah, it's going to be bad for your health.
Now your strumming hand. It's like you got the
30 plus years of playing guitar. Yeah, no, we're just doing big cowboy chords from here on out. Sorry, what were you going to say? Somebody was telling you something.
You're like doctor. You're like the doctor. You're like, doctor, could you please call it guitar elbow because it makes it sound cooler.
Yeah,
it's called guitar. It's called
Rockstar elbow.
Shredder's disease.
Yes. Well, bro, elbow. Check it out. Basically, you got like Shredder's elbow, bro. We're gonna go ahead and hook you up with a shot and get you back out on the road, my man.
Yeah.
Come
on. It turns out cortisone shot. Like I don't really like it. It seems like it's a bad thing. You know, like it seems like, oh man, you gotta go get a shot. You know, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that. I'm like, or maybe cortisone shots are actually the cure for everything, and we could just go like once every 5 months. You go get like a cortisone shot in like three different places.
I am not a doctor in any way, but from my experience on the patient side of things, it feels almost like an oil change. It's like, oh yeah, well, you know, spray a little WD-40 in that thing there. Good. Now you're good as new. Now it's gonna bend and slide and do all the things and not hurt.
That's actually it's a good metaphor because with your car, you'll be like, well, I could just drive really slow and, you know, not put very many miles on my car and whatever. And then I only have to get an oil change once every 5 months, whatever. Or I could drive like a maniac. I could do whatever I want.
Oil change every 3 months.
Get an oil change every 3 months, and we're good.
Yeah, it's called maintenance.
I'm going to start getting cortisone shots, Randy.
I mean, I don't know what your insurance is like. I don't know what my insurance is like. I don't even know what this shit costs.
I mean, cortisone can't be that expensive, can it?
I think so. I think they find a way to make it. You are talking
but
about
in reality.
Oh, the reality of it, of course, yeah. It's like a quarter, but somehow I'm going to spend $2,500 on this thing. But yeah, it worked. That was the big takeaway. Was like, oh, I love this. Yeah, so what I've had two in each thumb, one in the forefinger of the picking hand for some reason, and then now the elbow.
Holding that pick so tight.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, they're all guitar-related injuries.
That's Well, when I explain to them or when I tell the doctor or anybody what I do, they're like, "Yeah, that's gonna do it." I think it's not even just what I do today. You know, I'll probably play an hour of guitar a day, roughly or average. But then the just the lifelong thing of doing it for 30 years. I think you just build up. Just it wears it down.
It's like when
I'm not even that crazy. Yeah.
When the singers get like adenoids or whatever those things are called.
Yeah.
It's called. It's like almost everyone gets
vocal flaps.
Gets them somewhere at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Keith Richards has to be more machine than man by now. You know what I mean?
Have you seen his fingers though?
Yeah, they're giant like marbles. Giant marbles on each knuckle.
Yeah, the guitar moves with him.
Oh yeah. I think I've seen that one, but I've seen him live. I mean, I've seen him live now. I don't know, 12 times. And on the Jumbotron, those knuckles are the size of like watermelons.
It's amazing he can even move his hands.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the guitar moves one was amazing because, it's close and he's like, oh yeah, just give me the guitar. And he has his little like acoustic or whatever it was and you look at his hands, you're like, he's not playing that thing. There's no way he's going to play these. And then he's like, and like, how are those That doesn't even look like he's pushing on the strings. Like, I think just the weight of his knuckles pushing down is all that it is.
I think it's just the claws, like just move in place now. But yeah, well, he has that open G tuning, so I think that makes it a little bit easier. It's a lot of one finger.
Right.
Yeah.
Have to touch this thing.
He's made it work for himself over the years. He's made it, but it's
also
it's all about in the pig can't do. It's all the elbow. He cranks up the elbow, gets it way up there above his head, and then.
Oh right.
It's all about that elbow. Somehow he does something with
that.
He
doesn't play with the high E string either, does he?
The low E string.
Oh, he doesn't play with the low E?
Yeah, I take the low E off.
Wow.
And I mean, it makes sense if you think about it. He's had a bass player and another guitar player for, 70 years playing. Yeah. This is the stuff that's going to drive my mom crazy. That's I don't think this has been behind the scenes. Hi, Mom. Thank you for listening. She likes to fact check me, so I'm going to go ahead and say Keith Richards has been playing guitar for 70 years.
So 750 years.
Yeah. But what's hard about the way the podcast works is we'll record this and this will come out, we're recording in advance, no spoilers, but then, sometimes it's several weeks in advance and then it'll come out and then my mom will listen to it a few days later or a week later. And then she'll, text me something, you have
to get her on the podcast to do a fact checking.
We have to do this live. I think she wants to come on.
Fact checking live show. I'd be number one fan.
Okay.
I want to be fact checked by your mom.
Maybe the next Hyphenate we can have Jovi Randall appear and she can fact check us live on the air. It was something about the Zapruder. It was the Zapruder film that set her off. She's like, no, the Zapruder film didn't come out in the 90s. We saw that in the 60s, and then now.
No, that's not true. It came out on the Geraldo Rivera.
I looked more. Yes, there was a Geraldo thing, but there were stills in Time magazine. Did you go down the rabbit hole too of this?
There were stills, but they hadn't.
Yeah,
but they had.
Screened.
I've seen all the conspiracy. I had to stop myself after a while. It was amazing that it was like. Was it Dick Gregory was involved somehow?
Oh my god! With the comedian?
Yeah, but he became super political.
Oh my god!
I feel like he was involved somehow. I don't know, but it was
Warren
on.
Commission.
They actually showed the film on Geraldo.
Oh my god! In the 80s or in the 70s?
I think so.
Early, yeah. But then there was missing. There was missing frames. There was like a key. Like there's like 3 missing frames that had been doctored or had been taken out by after they sent it to the FBI or CIA. They had came back with some missing frames.
Of course, no
one knows what happens on those frames.
There's a reason why it's called Dulles International Airport, Randy.
Well, I don't even know what that means. Because it happened in Dallas? Because he got shot in Dallas? So they call it Dulles?
No, it's because it's Alan Dulles was the one who ran the Warren Commission.
Oh, my God. Okay.
And so he got paid. He
covered it up?
His payment for covering it up was getting the Dulles International Airport named after him.
What?
I've never heard that.
That's amazing.
I've never heard that. I made that up, but
I like it.
I think that. I mean, who else? Who? Why else would Alan Dulles get an airport?
Washington D.C. Yeah. Why wouldn't it be Washington? Why wouldn't it be any other?
Unless he allegedly had something to do with the destruction of a presidency.
Well, you've heard it here on a podcast with two white men in their 40s. It must be true.
Yeah.
This is how all facts are created.
Yes, we create facts every day.
Speaking of which, let's talk about Andrea Domanick. I felt so bad. I called her Andrea awesome. in the opening, but even when she was on, I was like, Andrea. I want to call her Andrea for some reason. Because that's not her name. It's Andrea. I understand, but there is something. But I had to think about it in the intro while I was flummoxed. I had to think more about it. Like it does feel like I always think of her as like fancy. I don't know.
Well, there's so many. It's such a weird one. It's like when you see it written down, you go, "Oh, okay. Is it Andrea? Is it Andrea? Or is it Andrea?"
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Because we have a friend who's Andrea,
and
then Andrea. But I feel like Andrea just seems so American that when you look at it, like because it's the like Midwestern almost.
And she seems kind of European.
You want to say like, no, it's definitely going to be Andrea. Because that's like more, it's fancier.
Was it Andrea from 90210, right? Wasn't her name? Or Andrea Zucker? She was the
Andrea
one.
Zucker.
Yeah, she like ran the newspaper. She was like 40 years old, playing a teenager. Yeah, but also then there's like the male Andres name too, which
Andreas.
I think I've had a couple Andreases or Andres.
And you don't have any Andreases.
Exactly, right? I know.
Yeah, Andre Agassi.
Andy, Andrew.
Yeah, Andy. Oh, then you have Andy. Andrew. That's what you get. The Andre turns into Andy.
Andy. Yeah, hey, Andy.
Hey, Andy. Anyway.
Yeah. But she was great, right?
That was awesome.
I mean, we've known her for a long time. So yeah, I hope in the intro, I don't know if I explained the collaborative process on Soundfield 2020. I mean, because you and I had worked on Soundfield Volume 1 together, and it did not strike me until many years later. This was the record and film that came out, and art installation came out in 2018. And but the hubris of calling anything Volume 1, I think normally you would just have the thing, which is just Soundfield, and then if there were ever to be a second volume, then you'd call that Volume 2. But the balls that we had, the naivete and confidence to just call it, we're just gonna go ahead and call this Volume 1. Because there's gonna be.
Listen, when you're a professional artist, Randy, like you are, you can tell the future.
We could say, well, in 2018, I knew exactly how the world was going to go. There was no pandemic on that radar. I mean,
the best thing is there was no Volume 2. There was a Volume 2020, but Volume 2 never happened.
I know.
Yet.
Yeah.
But then on the third one, will it be
Volume 2? Whoa.
That's better.
I know. It. I've been playing around with ideas for Volume 3. For Volume 2, you think?
I mean, we shot all that footage in New York.
That's right. That was supposed to be the original Volume 2. Right.
Yeah. We got some stuff. We got some stuff here. That stuff pops up every once in a while, and I look at it. I'm like, oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
We spent like a whole day filming in New York.
That was easy. We just walked from one side of Manhattan to the other. What did that take?
We ended up at that soccer field.
6 hours. That was amazing. Got some Chipotle.
Yeah. Got some
real New York food. Chipotle and Best Buy.
Yeah. Yeah. Walked from one side to the other.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
Did we take a cab at all?
No. Maybe on the way back. We walked back through the village. I remember. Right. Maybe we even made it the whole way. That was a good walk.
Yeah. It was fun. Back in the days before our feet hurt every day, all the time. I couldn't do that walk now.
We could pull stuff like that off. Yeah. Like, all right. No big deal. We had all the equipment and the cameras. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's do it. Yeah. 2025, Volume 2 coming out.
Yes. Oh, geez. We only have a year.
Well, yeah.
Let's just finish it this summer real quick.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah. Pop it in there.
Give it to AI. AI is taking all these jobs, right?
Oh, you should put the first 2 records in AI. Yeah. And we'll put the first 2 videos in AI and tell them to
make 7-legged dogs and 14-fingered people.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Let's make a new version of this. Actually, someone else could just do it for us. And someone else can just go grab that stuff. Any of our fans, if you want to make an AI Volume 3, if it's good, we'll produce it.
That's perfect. There. Yeah. What's the opposite of DIY? DIFM? do it for me.
Do it for me.
Yeah.
Someone else DIFM.
Yeah. DIFM, please. Dean and I would joke about that, like, because we were called DIY musicians. We're like, yeah, but we're not trying to. It's just there's no one else to do it.
Like, I would love to have someone else.
If somebody could do this stuff for me, that'd be great. That'd be even better. But until that time, I will be DIYing it for non-aesthetic reasons. Yeah. Only productive reasons.
It's so great that you guys carry your amps and all that. You're like, yeah, I don't want to.
Yeah, please.
It's not great. It sucks. Yeah, it totally sucks. This thing is heavy.
Well, the same
5 amps.
Same with the lo-fi kind of moniker. I think it was given. These DIY lo-fi, bands, and I was like, I thought that was good. I thought that was the highest fidelity thing I could make. I was trying my best there, pal.
It sounded like Rush
for no money and no support. This was the best record we could make. That as soon as anybody else could do it for us and make it sound better, I'd be right there.
Yeah, put out some SM58s. Call it a day.
That was it. That was it. I remember when I got my first SM57. I think because I saw that on the little guitar ones.
Yeah, the little flat ones.
Yeah, that was a big deal. I'm really moved up in the world with that thing. It was like $100. Probably the most expensive piece of equipment I had for years.
Is there any difference between a 57 and a 58? Is a 57 more directional? Or are they the same thing just with a different, like a square head and a round head on them?
They are not the same. As far as I know, they are not the same thing.
Yeah.
The SM7B and SM57 are very similar versus SM58. I saw this cool clip about the guy that invented the SM58. And it was, he hated rock music, but it was the first mic you could sing directly down the barrel of, instead of like the classic like Elvis ones you'd hold from the side, side address versus direct address. Yep. And once it was direct address, then it was perfect for rock and roll singers because the singers could hold it in their hands and sing into it and be really gestural with it. But he was like a big band guy. He was like, jazz, and he hated rock and roll, and he basically invented the classic rock and roll microphone.
He's like, I'm gonna create a mic for you guys, so you guys can go over there, and we can have our nice, beautiful mics over here.
Yep.
For big bands.
Oh, yeah. So here, according to Shure.com, the 57 and 58 microphones are actually based on the same cartridge design. The main difference is the grill. The SM58 was designed for vocal applications and therefore uses the ball grill with built-in pop filter to eliminate plosives. And the 57 is designed as an instrument microphone where a smaller size grill is more practical and plosives are less of a concern. Subsequently, the 57 does not use the ball grill with the pop filtering. Instead, features an integral resonator grill assembly where the grill is actually part of the cartridge.
Oh, so it is the same microphone, just without the pop filter.
You're right. Exactly right. And that would make sense. Yeah, the SM58, 57. Yeah.
I knew it, Randy.
You did.
They've been screwing us. They've been screwing us all these years.
I think they cost the same too, right? Is there anything different? Really?
I think so.
Yeah.
I have two somewhat broken ones that still work-ish. I mean, just like this guy. I bought all these mics. I mean, when Jeremy and I had our radio show 20 years ago, 15 years ago, they're still humming.
Hey. Literally, that's the hum you hear.
Yeah, that's the hum you hear.
The mics, yeah.
That's why my side of the podcast sounds lo-fi.
Yeah. Sounds great. Okay, so getting back to Andrea. So I think, I was really stoked to sit down and talk. She has a great podcast, The Cultural Journalist, and they just launched a new Discord server, the Cujoplex, which is like being in a mall in the 90s, and you can go into each store, and then it's like going into the store, you go into like a shop where you can talk about, if you go to the music store, then you can talk about music. If you go into the tech store, you can talk about tech. I think that's kind of the idea.
So I know nothing. Can you explain Discord to me? Because I tried to kind of sign up once. I have an app on my phone, and then because I don't remember, it was some musician, I think, and I was like, oh, Discord server, that's probably easy. And then I opened it up and went, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready for this, and I closed it, and I haven't opened it since. So explain to me what Discord is.
So I think Discord is just a message board, basically, but it can be put behind a paywall. You know what I mean? So there's the message boards, and so it's sort of like it seems culturally to be like the less toxic version of Reddit.
Okay.
Is sort of what is best I can understand. But here's what Emily and Andrea say. A Discord server that plays on the theme of third spaces by modeling itself after a shopping mall from the 2000s, replete with a record store, a movie theater, a food court, a generic sports bar, and even a hot topic for talking about the state of contemporary counterculture. We've spent the past few weeks inducting a small group of friends and listeners into the Galleria and incubating conversations, and today we are quietly opening it up for all of our paid subscribers. So it's not like the it's not like a metaverse kind of thing where you like have to walk through a thing. Discord is really just a it's chat rooms, discussion areas.
Is there a visual element to it? Like, are you looking at a room and you click on a thing, or is it just like you're just in different rooms and you're chatting?
I think you're just on different pages and chat. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Discord. Yeah. Group chat. Just a group chat that's all fun and games. So maybe it's kind of based around like gaming sort of stuff.
Okay.
But it's
that's cool.
Yeah. It's similar to, it's, kind of came around, like a Twitch sort of thing. Obviously we are like 10 years behind everything, but I think it's
so close.
It's chat rooms.
So close.
Yeah. I'm sure I misrepresented it in some ways. I don't think I fully understand it.
Well, and Twitch really took over a ton during COVID, right? Because that's the first time I heard of it. But then it had been up, and it was mostly for gaming. But then it became like one of the biggest places to live stream anything. It was like
Exactly.
live streaming on, like musicians were live streaming on Twitch, and DJs were live streaming on Twitch and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get very. I mean, this is actually a good entry into the conversation that you and Andrea were talking about, of like how people find information now, and like and I think that music conversation is really interesting because, and I know we've probably talked about this before, but that the music used to be so I don't know, culturally valuable, I guess, because that was the way that things were communicated from like one town, city to another. Like Chicago music sounded way different than the DC, and DC sounded way different than New Orleans, and like everything was very regional, and you'd learn things just by listening to bands from those places. You'd learn cultural things from those places. And then even and through like big band and stuff, and then even through the 60s, then all of a sudden it was like, this is how you learn about war, and how you learn about the Vietnam War, and how you learn about, these are things that like started these conversations going now. And then in the 80s, everything starts to be kind of commodified with MTV, and it becomes more of a visual medium. Like it has to be visual as well. And then, because before then you didn't even hear from the bands. Like a lot of times, like the big thing with like Steve Miller Band is that Steve Miller never got photographed. So you never knew what he looked like, right? Like you could have a whole band and never exist as a visual entity. Like you'd have to come to the show to see what Steve Miller looks like or whatever.
Yeah.
And now it's like so much music is kind of a commodity in that way, of like, it's more of a, it's less, in general, it's less of a kind of communication tool, and it's more of a thing. It's like a song. It's a band. You like this band, you like this song, and it's more of like a handbag or something like it's like a piece of fashion, or even how you were talking about having a KCRW bag that says something about you. It's like now the band is still like that, but it's not necessarily like as important as it used to be as kind of like a cultural communication tool. It's more of a commodity now. And I think that that's interesting. It's interesting when you guys were talking about like what kids are doing too, and it's interesting that because Andrea doesn't have kids. And so she's like in that world of like trying to figure that out. And you're in the world where you have little kids. And then I'm in the world where my kids are like middle school and high school. So it's like, it's kind of the perfect, like, because for me, like Towns is kind of into music, or he's kind of like, he listens to whatever his friends are listening to, but Lila is super now into music. And now she's gotten into old, like Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac and like a bunch of old like reggae songs, but she just finds all of this stuff. I don't know where she finds it, actually. That's what you guys were talking about. Where do you find music? And I'm like, she finds it online, and she has but she does have people that she likes their taste in music who like talk about new music and talk about new bands online, and she follows them on like TikTok or whatever. And then she'll go find those bands and she'll research them, and she'll go, it's really interesting. I don't know. It's crazy because I literally got all of my music only from friends. I never knew how to research. I never had the intelligence of like, no, you go to the record store and you ask the person there, or you like there's these things called zines, and you find bands in zines. And I was like, I didn't learn any of that stuff until my 20s. Like, no, you buy everything from this record label. That's how you find your music, you get everything from like K Records or whatever. Like everything that they are going to put out is good. So it's like, just get that. And I just got it from my friend.
It's funny. I think, thinking about it is, essentially the human hasn't changed. The human like needs, wants, desires, the general operating system of people and culture, how people interact with culture hasn't changed. Like the mechanic of the receptacle or of the listener has always been the same, but the delivery systems have changed. And it's almost as if, it's a feature, not a flaw, in that like the delivery system has to keep being broken and reinvented in order to sort of keep pace with this sort of sense of like nowness. That there's something about music that I think that has always been the case, that your first contact with it is really what's the most impactful, and then you solidify, you codify in a way your taste, and then you're no longer interested in necessarily new music, and you're just looking for things that reference things you already liked. You're going to build off of your foundation of what you set in place. So and it's like in keeping with this same sort of idea of having to have a new blush or a new sort of experience with music, that it's like constantly being, the way it's delivered is being reinvented in that same sort of way, from jukeboxes and 45s and singles and radio to the to the MTV, to CDs. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's really, I think if you look at the pattern enough in the last 100 years, you know what I mean? That it's that within every 20-year cycle, not only does the style change, not only do the popular artists change, but the delivery system itself changes. And and then it's always followed by the people from the previous generation, like, oh, I like my thing the way I had it, and the kids are, this is the new thing, this is how everybody's doing it, and then and it happens again and again ad nauseum. That it really, and I think it's similar almost in the same way as entertainment. It's film, from radio to TV to film to movies to blockbusters to DVDs to streaming. It's like it's this constant state of flux to keep people on their toes, but also to keep it new and fresh to this audience, that it's like, the old technology still works. There's nothing technically wrong. I mean, there's things that are bad, like VHS is technically lower resolution, you know what I mean, or tape is lower resolution, or or MP3s are lower resolution than this. That I mean, you can kind of do it, but it's almost apropos of nothing. Of that's not why people like it or don't like it necessarily. It's more about the timing of when it came out. But I wonder what it is, because it's like, I guess that my feeling is almost that like it has to change in order to keep up, or in order to present itself brand new again. It's this kind of like Phoenix saga, Phoenix cycle of things of like constantly like burning, building up and burning down, building and burning for every generation. It's like, not only do you need a whole new artist, but you need a whole new platform to listen to it on, because it's just there's some type of passion or some type of like meta understanding of a real cultural identity, that not only do you need your own artists, but you need your own ability to like, reinventing the wheel, your own like this is my format. I'm a format, tribalistic, kind of I don't know, totem or something. You know what I mean? That it represents the thing, like, long live the CD, all hail the CD. Long live the vinyl. Everybody's on the vinyl. If it's not on vinyl, it's not good. But really, that just speaks to an era and a time of who those artists were and when those people were interested in music, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think too that even with, I mean, I live in a small town where I don't think that there's many bands here, like the kids, because there isn't a lot of places for that kind of output. Mm-hmm. But our friends who's, I've talked about before, their son is in high school and is now in a band that is touring. They went and played a festival in Chicago a couple months ago, and our friend Neil went with them, and he was like, yeah, it was one of the craziest shows I've ever been to. And he was in hardcore bands and he was like in the hardcore scene in New York in, the 90s. And he was like, yeah, it's nuts. Like the hardcore kids, it's the same thing. There's thousands of people and they're all like, it's weird now because all of the hardcore music is 30 years old now, 25, 30 years old. But those kids are referencing all of that stuff and all of those bands, but also referencing like The Locust and everything, which is 20 years old. And then they're also referencing new bands. Like whatever's happening new. And it's just like heavy, crazy music for kids to go like lose their shit to, you know? And
It's great.
And it really is. He's like, oh yeah, no, they're playing like a warehouse next weekend and it's going to be like 1,500 people.
That's
and
great.
They're like 16-year-olds, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh yeah, this is these places and things are just happening. It's just that we're not like, where am I supposed to see the flyers though? I don't see where they're not posting any flyers on the light poles. How am I supposed to know about the shows? You know, and he was showing me because they're like, you know, doing the thing like we're going to start our own label, and so now they're figuring out how to do like they have a little distribution deal with a guy out on the East Coast and able to like send some records to Europe, and you know, just all of these things. I'm like, oh yeah, it's still happening. We're just like, once you get older, you're just like, your interests don't align with that as much, and so it just is not like, it's just under the radar. It's like the second I get into tennis, all of a sudden you start noticing tennis stuff everywhere. Like, oh yeah. Oh, maybe I should get some new shoes. Oh, they are right. You're supposed to get tennis shoes. Okay, I'm gonna go get some shoes for tennis. And then you search one thing up online, and then
I was
all
gonna
of a sudden
say,
you're in tennis memes, and then you're just like, oh, you know, you need to get your racket restrung. Your racket restrung? What does that do? Let me look that up a little bit more. And then all of a sudden you have the hat and you have the gear, and you know 10 people in town that play tennis, and you know you're like, I didn't know there was tennis in this place. And so it is funny. I love the conversations because I'll bring it up to Lila all the time, and she's like, yeah, Dad, you're old. That's why.
Yeah.
It's like, of course you don't know that. Why would you know what 16-year-olds are doing? It's weird. It would be weird, actually.
Absolutely.
Like, oh, yeah, you're right. You're right. That would be creepy. I do always remember the older dudes sitting in the back of the shows, you know, they're like 50-year-olds, and you're like, if that person isn't in a band, it's creepy.
Yeah. Or it's like anyway. Matthew McConaughey, you know, from Days of Confused.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's again, like it's by design. You know, I think that's part of it. Has to keep changing, has to keep growing, and you know, and it's inherently, meant. You know, it's like you have to. And I guess, you know, that's kind of hits on one thing as being a father too, or as a parent. It's like you want to somehow pave the road ahead of your kids just so it's not quite as bumpy as your thing was. And then you realize like, oh no, they need all those bumps. Like the the smooth ride through life doesn't actually help them. If anything, it's going to handicap them and make them weak. And when they have to go out there and really deal with hard things, they're not going to know how to deal with it because they never got the potholes and the bumpy ground in the beginning. So now they're faced with like real tough things later on in life, and they don't have the calluses on their fingers or like know how to like deal with challenges, you know. And so in the same, I guess in that way too, of like, hey guys, here's an easy way to make, you know, everyone know who your band is. Here's how to do this. Here's how to do this. And it's like, no, we need to reinvent all of this. We have to change it because not only is the world changing, so that, you know, your whatever you have isn't going to exist, but it's like, I think that's just part of it. It's like we're gonna tear it down and build it again over and over and over again, and that's also, just how you.
Why would I listen? And also, why would I listen to an old person? Right. Old people are stupid.
Yeah, don't trust anyone over 30.
Yeah. Oh my god! And it's so funny. Even being at middle school this whole year, I've realized two things.
Skippity toilet.
How a lot of that, but how old everyone, how old I am to everyone else. How old I am, which I don't feel. You know, you feel like you walk in, you're like, yeah, you know, I can relate to these kids or whatever, and
I'm hip.
They're
I'm
just like, why
cool.
is this? Yeah, right. I'm the teacher on South Park. What's his name?
Okay.
That's how I looked at everybody. Okay, guys, here. I'm going to tell you guys what to do with your life. Okay, and they're like, you're an idiot. But hey, that's the funny part. Is like, oh yeah, I'm really old. Like to all these kids, I'm like 50. I'm like, and when they're like, one of the big things was like, how old are you? How old are you? And I'm like, I don't know. How old do you think I am?
Oh no, like, that's the worst question you want to ask.
Like
80.
They're like 37. And I'm like, oh, thanks. You think I'm 37? And they're like, that's old. Why? How old are you?
37 and 98.
Yeah, they're like,
is the same.
They're like, my mom is 37 and she's old. They're like,
Oh,
Yeah,
I
how old do
am
you think? And I'm
10
like, I'm
years older
40.
than your mom.
I'm
Yeah.
49, and they're like, "You're what?
Uh, Here, do you need to sit
How?
down? Do you need to take
Why
your
are you so
medication?
old?" They're like, "Why are
Why are
you
you so
teaching in
old?
this class? Why are you teaching in this class when you're so old? You're in college. Why are you so old and you're in college?"
Nothing,
And I'm like, "You guys, I'm not that old.
nothing helps your self-esteem like talking to a
Yeah,
middle schooler. It just
yeah.
really, really
By the
gets you.
way, I'm like talking to my ankles right now. Yes, my ankles feel that old. Oh,
Yeah.
1,000%. My ankles actually feel
Yeah.
60. But me, no. I'm like, I'm relating. But what I also realized too is that, like, as much as people talk about, like, oh my God, screens are ruining our kids and they don't have any of this, they don't, da, da, da. And I'm like, I don't know. It seems like middle school when I went there. It seems like the
Yeah.
same thing. They're all
The-
just like, they're stressed out. They're having relationships. They're breaking up with each other. They're losing friends. They're gaining friends. They're trying to wrestle with each other. They're trying to like sneak things from the teacher. Like
the humans don't change. Everything else changes around them.
the
Yeah. The humans.
generality of the age group and the kids and the craziness, and they're all maniacs, and they're all like kind of growing, and they're kind of like not like, do you think they're getting a little bit older, and then all of a sudden they revert to they're crying about that their page got ripped, and I'm like, but you were just like threatening somebody earlier, and now you're like in the corner crying. It's like this emotional ball. I'm like, I don't know. I think social media, there's probably a lot of like kind of micro issues. There's probably a lot of maybe relationship stuff, but there's also like, I'm like, I don't know. These kids seem pretty normal to me. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't like trying to remember how crazy it was to be in middle school was like, and even with Lila, who's in high school, it's like you see her and her friends hanging out. The main difference I see is that when they are hanging out, if they're not doing something, they're all sitting on their phones. So it would be like if you went to your friend's house and brought a book, and every time you weren't talking, you went and like read 2 pages, then put the book down, and then you keep talking, and then you read 2 more pages. So there is a thing of like, of the lack of being bored. They get bored like literally 10 seconds in of anything that they're not doing. They finish a project and they turn it in, and they look at you and they go, "I'm bored."
Oof.
That happens often
It's like,
in
congratulations.
school. And I was like,
You've reached the end of the race. You've done it. You've become
yeah, and
bored.
I'm just like, how?
Enjoy it.
You haven't even had time to get bored. You literally just turned in, you worked on something for like 3 weeks, and you just turned it in, and you looked at me and said, "I'm bored."
Oh.
I'm like, I don't think you know what that means. I think boredom now has a different connotation
That's so
than
funny.
it did when we were kids. But I would probably talk to my mom, and she would probably say, "No, you used to come around the corner after you finished doing something and went, 'I'm bored now.'" And you're like, that really just means I need attention. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything real.
Yeah.
It's like, no. I need you to acknowledge me in this moment because I'm a teenager and I'm crazy. I'm a maniac.
Yep. That's so funny. Yeah, I just think about, it's one thing I remember. I think I've talked about this before, but like in early sobriety, this is many years back, I remember feeling bored for the first time in like decades, and I was like, I never had time to just be bored, because I was always either so wasted that I like half of my day was gone. I was just spent like passed out, or just piled out somewhere. So then with the time when I was hungover, I had so much catch up to do. I had to like do emails. I had to do all this work. I had to get all this stuff done, because then I knew, by 5 o'clock I'd turn into a pumpkin at, on a bar stool somewhere, or on a couch, or behind a 12-pack. So I didn't have a lot of time. I had to it was like, I was always missing something, because I wasn't paying attention to what the hell I was doing in my life. So then I was like, I had things to do, or I was so out of it I couldn't do anything. And then being sober, I was like, oh man, I'm bored. This is beautiful. This is such a great. I remember feeling like this is such a new experience. Like I felt like a kid again. That kind of feeling of like, what do I do now? What do I, just being left alone with your own thoughts and kind of clearing away the wreckage of your past, getting your head straight enough to where you can just sit with yourself and you're not beating yourself up. You don't have this negative self-talk. You don't have all the resentments going around your head. Like, fuck this guy, fuck that guy. You shoulda, coulda, wouldas.
Yeah.
Like having an early sober kind of clean brain of just sort of like, I'm bored. And I'm like, I remember telling myself, I was like, I'm going to draw a picture. I'm just going to sit here with a piece of paper. I'm just going to what did I do when I was a kid? If I was bored, I would just like draw a picture, do something, write something down, do so, and just like have fun in that kind of way. And I remember, yeah, right. Yeah. I don't think I've been bored in a little while, but I try to hold that space. And then I had kids. So I guess that's what I did. I was like, oh, I got so much time on my hands. I'm bored all the time. I want to go ahead and add some kids in the mix. That'll keep me on my toes for the next 60 years. Yeah, I do recall. I was, before the kids, it was a lot of sitting on the couch, a lot of like spending 2 hours to make a meal. Like, this is just excessive. This is unnecessary life living here. Just I'd read books.
I don't think it's boredom anymore if you're really enjoying it.
I would read long books. I would watch foreign films with subtitles on them. I would cook gourmet meals, and I went to 5 different grocery stores to buy all the ingredients at.
Yeah.
I found.
What was that like, Randy? Run us through it.
It sucked.
That sounds amazing.
It was boring. It was boring.
I know. Yeah, it was boring.
I was bored. But I always try to hold on to that idea of like, but boredom really is a privilege. Boredom means you have a well organized life, and you have the thing called free time is like such a privilege to have, because that's really not something that a lot of people have to, and so I don't know. I don't think there's any way to appropriately convey that message to children or to junior high. Like, enjoy this time. This is the time where you get to where your brain really gets to take you on a little adventure. It's called your imagination. You're bored, you have no work, you have no needs, you don't have to go out and buy groceries, you don't have to pay any bills. Just go ahead and let your imagination take you on a little journey here. Maybe
trust me, they don't care.
No, that's not
this was my biggest thing, is that the couple times, I subbed a bunch for this same class I was student teaching in, and half the time, they'd be like, "Woo, you're here," and I'm like, "No, this is not like crazy time." But then, they'd be like, "I don't have anything to do," and I'm like, "Yeah, no, you do. You have a lot of things to do." Yeah. And I kept saying, like, if someone right now just said, "You have an hour to draw, and you have every art supply, you don't have to buy them, it's all free." Mm-hmm. And you get to pick whatever you want and do it. And I would go through this whole thing, and they'd go, I'm bored. That was it. And I'm like, "No, but you don't understand." And they're like, "No, you don't understand, Mr. Farley. I'm bored. I don't want to draw. I don't even like drawing. I don't know why I'm in this class. I actually don't even know why I'm in this school. I hate this school.
I don't know why I'm in my world. My skin hurts."
Wow, that went, that's like 25-30% of the class. Gotcha.
Just explaining
but
life.
It is funny.
Yeah.
I was just talking to my friend Curtis about this too. It's like that how you want them to understand the future, the potentials of the future, but they don't have any understanding of it because they have never, like, half of them can't even like walk down the street without their parent being there, or they're still like 12, 13, 14. They can't go to the store. They don't go to the store by themselves. They can't drive. There's nowhere, especially up here. It's weird because you can't really ride a bike around because it's like we're the
mountains and mountain lions.
And so there's just not like bike. There's just no bike lanes. It's all hilly. It's just like the kids don't really, it's like if you live kind of down by the lake, you can walk around a lot and there's people around kind of, but you have to have your parents drive you somewhere, drop you off, or an older brother and sister. And like, there's just a lot of control. So you don't really have any freedom to make decisions that would actually affect your life in that kind of way. So then when you're trying to tell them, like, you don't understand, later on in life, this is going to be so valuable. And they're like, I don't even know what later on in life means. That holds no weight in my life, because all I'm worried about is if my friend likes me when I walk out of this class.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I'm thinking about. I've got about 6 minutes of future in my head. And if you're trying to think of past 6 minutes, like, we're done. We're done. And please stop talking about the future because it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. Yeah.
It's weird.
They're not wrong.
It's weird. And they're totally not wrong.
Yeah.
And I do think a lot of even like school and teaching probably loses a bit of weight because of the amount that you're trying to prepare them for something that they don't understand. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but like instead of trying to think of like how do we and I think as an art teacher I'll probably have the ability to because no one takes it seriously anyway. So you're like, good, yeah, please, no parents, please, parents, don't take this seriously. I'm just going to do my thing. I don't let's not talk about the future.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to get them to be like creative people in the moment and then leave and nothing matters. Yeah, it doesn't, I don't
Keep
necessarily, when I don't necessarily, like the kids that are going to learn skills are going to be interested and then they can learn the skills. But most of the kids are taking this class because they had nothing else to take.
Yeah.
And that like, but that's actually kind of a blessing in a way, because then those kids, it's like you don't have any expectations. And so you can hopefully go like, let's stop talking about the future. Let's figure out what's going on right now. Like literally right now, what's happening. Because I think when you do, I mean, even in the history class that was next door to us, there's projects that would be rough. And then they do these projects where they had to like build a catapult, right? Or something because they were doing medieval history. And they had to like build a catapult or make a castle out of cardboard or whatever. And it was so immediate that they were all like, yeah, I'm in. What do we do? How do you build a catapult? Oh, this is crazy. And you're like, yeah, it doesn't really matter if they know about medieval history necessarily. But there is these plays of like, how do we get them learning how to work in a group and not hitting each other and like telling someone they don't, they're not allowed to be there or, whatever.
Yeah.
Goofy kids say every day. But yeah, I don't know how we got on this topic. How did we get on this topic?
I don't know.
Talking about this?
Oh, but there was two things that made me think of. Like the first one, what you were saying about, how do you prepare somebody for a future that they can't even understand?
Oh, right.
And I was trying to like, put myself in those shoes too. It's like that same could be said for us, for people our age. You know what I mean? Like there's a whole future out there of being in your 80s or being in your 70s, and you're just like, I can't think about that. You know what I mean? It's like, what would our parents, it's that same kind of way. Like, what would our parents say to us, in this kind of way? Like, you kids don't even know. We're still kids. You're only in your 40s and 50s. You don't even know. There's a whole set of Social Security, of Medicare, of things that like yoga, things you should be doing now, and pills and things you should be taking so that your life's better then. But it's so much as to tell you that now. Like, well, you should be doing yoga 5 times a week. Spend at least 1 to 2 hours meditating and doing yoga, because that's really going to pay off for you when you're older, because your flexibility in your hips and your calmness in your mind and your ability to really kind of like work through that and breathe. Breathing's going to be very important in 30 years, Charlie. Like you need to start working on that now. We're not. Yeah. I got coffee. I got to drive the kids to band practice, to soccer. I can't breathe. Right. I can't think about stuff.
I can't have time for this.
Namaste my way through the day here. I got shit to do.
Well, that was good. Namaste my way through the day. Good one, Randy.
I gotta get going.
That's a t-shirt.
But
I can't just namaste my way through the day. That is a $1 million idea. Okay, well, let's quit this podcast and make that shirt real quick.
Trademark #. We did it.
Yeah.
But there's that sort of feeling too. Like you can't really ever look past your eyes. And even as we get older, we think we're smart and we've got today figured out, and maybe like a couple days, maybe next week we could figure that out. But that's the reality of it all. And, obviously the pandemic was painfully and tragically, demonstrated all that shit. We had great plans. We had a lot of things I was doing. I was at work ahead, but that didn't matter, that's at work. So, you really never have that far out. But so that was one thought I had, that we say about the kids, but we could say about us again. It's the human sort of foibles. It's the human, folly of it all. And then the other thought too, about like art class stuff too. And it's like, what are you really learning? And one thing I keep thinking, just even in an academic way, when like kids like, why do I need to know this? I'm never going to use this. This isn't relevant to me. I can't, do you ever use this? Like, how many times do you use algebra or whatever this is? Or, and I always try to go back to this feeling, the broad term, just sort of, well, critical thinking or abstract thought, being able to hold two concepts of numbers or blocks or a square or a thing, you know what I mean? Like A plus B equals C, this sort of stuff. Like if you can hold those thoughts abstractly in your mind and problem solve in an abstract way without having to physically look at it, touch it, or count it on your fingers. If you can count and keep numbers, constant in your brain and problem solve like that, that's going to help. Because I definitely do that in life. You have to know, okay, wait, I got to pick the kids up at 2, but then I have somewhere to be at 6. So then that means I got to be here by this time and go to that time. But it's going to actually take me 45 minutes because I have to park. Because I remember that place, you got to walk around the corner. So I'm doing, I'm spatially thinking and doing math and scheduling, then I do that daily. That's, just being able to keep a calendar as a freelance worker person, like year long, like, okay, by August, if I'm not making money, I should really start to worry. Okay. All right. Hold on. I got enough work to kind of get me through to here, but I'm going to be pretty screwed if I don't book something in the next 3 months. So let's go ahead and kind of keep the antenna out while I'm doing one thing. While I'm juggling these balls, make sure there's one more antenna out there to feel around for something else. Because if we start getting nervous around middle of July because I'm going to be screwed.
You're doing math to figure out how nervous you should be in life.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Well, and I think of all of those things. I mean, I do think that probably the most important thing you'd learn from school is how to organize and finish tasks.
Yeah.
That's it. It doesn't even matter
what the task is.
And it doesn't matter what you're organizing, but staying organized, keeping organized, learning how to organize, finishing tasks, and then realizing that it feels good to finish things. I think that's probably the most important thing.
Yeah.
Like even in high school,
how to motivate, how self-motivate your thing.
You're probably not going to use whatever history, you're probably not going to be like an insane history major. Maybe you will be, but more often than not, it's more of like, okay, I got through this class. I figured it out. I mean, even for me going through this school for the last year, that I was just like, most of it was figuring out how to be organized and then take it seriously enough to where I'm not having to relearn everything every single class and going like, okay, I really need to not just rush through this. I need to learn this, take notes. So then when I have my class, that's the second version of this class next semester, it's actually easier and whatever. Just learning all of those things is much more beneficial to those kids. Because most of the kids that get bad grades or low grades is because they don't finish their work. It has nothing to do with intelligence. It actually has zero to do with intelligence, because most of those kids are super smart kids and they're funny and they're really good with their friends and they have really good social groups. And I'm like, that's harder. Like keeping yourself in a good social group and navigating all those relationships and all of that stuff takes way more intelligence than memorizing math,
Yeah.
And so trying to meld those two things together, I think is probably somewhere. But then, there has to be grades there somewhere just so you know how the school's doing and how everyone's doing. And plus people pass through. I mean, they don't hold kids back anymore. So, your grades matter only if you need to do something later in the future.
You have a record of what you got done, what you didn't get done. That's a good way to look at it. Just get it done. Even if it looks like crap, if getting it done is the majority of the grade. You know what I mean? You're going to get a D or C, just handing something in. You know what I mean? And that's going to pass.
Every single kid that got a D or an F this year, it was because they
didn't
refused to turn stuff in. It has nothing to do with whether they understood. If a kid didn't, again, I'm in art, so it's not like, but it wasn't because they didn't understand how to draw perspective. Like no one would get failed for that, right?
Right.
Because there were kids that didn't understand it at all.
Fine.
But they still did it, and they still, I still don't understand how the square. Like some kids don't have spatial recognition, just all sorts of stuff. But those kids were like, I'm like, yeah, just try your best, get it done. Here's the steps on the rubric. It's like you have to you have to draw it with pencil, then you have to draw it with pen, and you have to talk about what you're doing, blah, 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 blah. Those kids all got A's and they couldn't draw worth anything. They're horrible, right? They're horrible at drawing.
But there was an easy A. That's what
they didn't have that. But they
show
went
up
through
and suit up. Yeah.
Ask questions and whatever. but most of the kids were just like, I'm not doing anything today. And I'm like, all right, what could we, try to help or whatever. And then eventually you just go, okay, well,
Good luck.
I mean, don't cause problems. Don't sit over here to go over and check on them every couple times every class. I'm like, get to work. What do you need help with? Nothing. I'm like, okay. But that's most of it. Most of it is kind of the apathy of middle school, apathy of being a kid. Being a kid sucks, man. It's not great.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be great, but I think it's pretty rough most of the time. It's pretty emotional. It's pretty difficult.
Your body's changing and exploding, and
and your family, you don't know what all of their family situations are and stuff. And it's like a lot of those kids, you find out later what their family situation is, and you're like, wow, I'm surprised you even show up to school. That's crazy.
That's usually the case of those kids that just are shut down.
There's half the time school is actually the safe, even though they're getting in trouble all the time or whatever. School is actually the safest spot for them to be.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as they say they hate it, they actually
it's really a little peace and quiet.
There. Yeah, because it's like more rule. The rules are a little more cut and dry and strict, and you know when you're getting in trouble and when you're not, and all that kind of stuff. But, it's been weird.
It's wild. But I was going to say too, the critical thinking part too. Like that's always, especially in the arts sort of thing, of just saying, not just I like this. Like, well, why do you like this? Or I hate this. Well, why do you hate this? Like what is give me some whys on whatever it is, and then you're like just learning how to do that, how to express your thoughts in terms of like my preferences. Or it's not just, cause it's ugly. Or, because someone told me, if you just have to think about like, what is it about this thing? And even, now as an adult, it's like, why don't I like this? Why do I like this? Like questioning your own sort of like tastes and just to better understand yourself. And not that your tastes are wrong. Sometimes they are, but just to better express that to somebody else and to kind of understand your own brain of like, what is it about this thing that's bugging me? And I think just having that, or what is it about this thing that's so amazing? It tastes great, or it looks great, or reminds me of this thing. And then we start to decode some of the mechanics of your own sort of like perception, and your ability to perceive and to, and to challenge your own sort of held like things. Like I like it because it looks like this thing I like. That could be enough. Sometimes it's just that easy, but just having, building that muscle of critical thinking of just how to explain your likes and dislikes and drawing whatever conclusions you can from it. Again, just helps strengthen that muscle brain and your own independent thought. Like you are a person. You do not have to just think you don't think the same thing everything else does. I think that's this big thing with kids too, just trying to fit in. Like, I don't know. I like it because they like it. I like it because she likes it. I like it because they like it. I don't know. Just try to follow.
They wore the hat yesterday, so I got one.
Yeah.
But
you have your own brain.
Realizing that you not only that you have an opinion, but it actually is worthy.
Yeah.
Like that someone's asked that you're like, no, it's okay for you to like something and for someone else not to like something, but you should be able to explain why. And then as long as you can explain why, and it's not just, I don't know.
Right.
Then it actually, that's the start of like, guess what? You can have opinions about everything. You can have your own opinions, and your opinions can be different from people, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Everybody, guess what? Everything I think is wrong to somebody.
Yes. Yeah. Well, especially now, to look at in an online kind of world,
Right.
I just heard an interview with Larry David, the Mark Maron, interview Larry David, and he asked Larry or Mark Maron asked Larry David, well, do you go online? Do you have social media? So he's like, no. Like, why would I look? Why would I read what those people are saying? He's like, I'll read a professional. I'll read the New York Times. If I'm going to read criticism, praise, or bad of my work or anyone's work, it's like I want somebody who knows what they're talking about. I don't want to just hear a crowd of people saying they hate something or love something. That holds no value to me.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that's a good way of looking at it. Like, at what point did we give just anybody with a phone the weight of like so-and-so from wherever said they don't like this? Like, Who cares? Who cares what that person
It'd be like walking down a crowded street and every single person was commenting on what every single person was wearing. It's like
that's pretty much
like
online.
Walking down,
and there's Reddit,
as you're
there's
walking,
Discord,
everyone goes, "Nice shorts."
Twitter, yeah.
Those shorts suck. Those shorts suck. I hate blue. Blue suck.
That's so
those shorts
pretty.
Are too tight.
That's great.
Those shorts are too loose. I love those shorts. Those are the best shorts. You'd be like, get me out of here.
Yeah,
it sucks.
When you realize at some point, it's all meaningless. So like, oh God, I don't care. Just because because you read something online or you saw something like, there's no value in this chorus of just insanity.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you're just being an asshole.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah. That's the point of the internet.
That's what I came here to do, is be an asshole. Like, oh, okay, great.
Why else would I be here?
Good for you.
I have to be nice to everybody else.
Yeah,
I have to be nice to everybody else in real life.
Yeah.
This is where I get to be a total jerk. Well, this is what I've been thinking, and I think you guys were kind of talking about this, of like trying to figure out where the media and everything was like going for, and it was so fragmented that I've really been thinking of the internet is just like the human brain, right? Like, we're building a brain. We're building like one singular brain of humanity, and all of the little chunks are coming together, and they're trying to figure out like how the nerves are going to come together and work to build whatever this society thing. But then when I keep thinking about AI and seeing AI and watching, because I've actually been using it for like almost as an editor. So I'll like put out all of my ideas, and I'm a horrible writer. And don't tell Shannon this, 'cause she'll be pissed. But and I'll put it out, and I'm like, okay, that's like all the information that I need. It looks like it was written by a 6th grader. Now, AI, I need to do this as a presentation for blah, blah, blah with only this information. So then it takes all that information, and it's like, oh, this should be in the first paragraph, second paragraph, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yep. There you go. That's what I meant to say.
That's great. Yep. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah. That's great.
But then sometimes it just like, it'll throw a word in there, and I was like, is that even a real, I mean, that's a real word, but that's a weird one. Okay. Let's get that one out of there. And then even watching like a lot of the videos or photos, and I'm like, AI is just the dream state of the internet.
Ooh.
It's like when you're trying to explain a dream, and you're like, it kind of looked like that person. But then when I think of their face is kind of melting a little bit. And then they had like 7 fingers. So they had these hands, but the hands, they didn't look like hands. They kind of looked like chainsaws. It
was a place, but it wasn't a place. It was a thing, but it wasn't a thing.
It was like there was grass there, but we were underwater, but everybody could breathe.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just the AI. The generative AI is just the dream state of the internet.
Whoa. All right. That's the next bumper sticker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one won't sell as well as the
namaste my way through the day. I can't namaste my way.
I can't just namaste my way through this day.
All right, man. All right. Well, this is a good place to end. Follow us. Very, very formal. Yes. Hyphenate halftime at gmail.com, at Aaron Farley on Instagram, at Randy S. Randall on Instagram. And if you've made it all the way to the end, that means you like this. So please tell all your friends. We need more of your dumb friends to listen to this, and leave us a good review. Go tell everybody, what an asshole you are, or what assholes we are online. Share it. Spread the word.
Judge people in public.
This is it. Yeah.
Namaste.
Namaste. Now go namaste right through this day.